Hello, welcome everyone. We are live on YouTube and welcome to the Digital Innovation Pavilion at the UN Climate Conference COP29 in Baku. Today is the Youth Day and we have here at the Digital Innovation Pavilion a special program which is focusing on GLOCHA, which is the logo that you see here. It's a Global Challenges Action Empowerment Partnership and Action Network, and which I'm one of the founders and partners of. And we have the focus on youth. And it's also COP29 presidency, Children and Youth Day, and Education and Human Development Day. And therefore, we are delighted to have this panel here with champions of youth activism, youth development, youth empowerment work from around the globe. And I'm happy to give now the microphone to Caroline Owaku from Kenya, from CETRA, this research institute, and Caroline is a leader in Kenya as regards action for climate empowerment. And we are happy to have you with us. So let's see what the zeitgeist is. What are young people thinking about the UN, the climate process, and about what the future might look like?
Thank you, Miro. And as it is said, when you are involving and indulging with the young people, you feel younger. So I want to start with you, Olomide. Probably just tell us who you are and what is your take since week one with the perspective of youth. How do you feel about the youth involvement in the COP process?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Olomide. I'm from Nigeria, Lagos. I'm the Executive Director for International Climate Change Development Initiative. I'm very happy to be here. Basically, when you look at the atmosphere, you will see that quite a number of young people are actually, making their impacts based on the level of what they can be able to do. And from the global south, I think we still need some increase in participation. And those increases need to come from people that doesn't really have the opportunity to be, to have access to travel. Majorly people that are actually being affected, because when they say when two elephants are fighting, is the grass they suffer. So those people suffering on ground, they also need that kind of feel of participation. And because we are using the digital innovation pavilion, I also think that there's need for some sort of complement city, like people, connecting from their country to join COP, not only to join through the UNFCCC platform, but to join to also understand what is going on in different parts. So I can say that the participation of young people, if you ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say maybe 4, just because most of the panel session I'm seeing here, you see more of older generation than the young people, and we are the people that actually need to express what we are doing on ground, because innovation that we are working on is actually driving success story on ground. So and today being the youth day for the conference, also supposed to show some sort of ownership. And I'm sure as time goes on, we will continue to see that kind of ownership from our leaders, so that we can be able to express our mind and what we want to do. Again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olomide. And like you're saying, the involvement of youth, you've only given it 4 out of 10. That's a 40%. Mika, do you agree with that? And in your opinion, what are the challenges which are making youth not be at least 8 or 80%?
Yes, so thank you so much for having me here. I'm Mika. I'm actually a youth coordinator of Climate Reality Project Philippines. And for me, because I was here last week as well, for me, I think one of the challenges that young people face when it comes to their participation in high-level conferences like COP29 is really having that capacity when it comes to like negotiations. I mean, not all of us have the party badge that would enable us to participate in negotiation processes, but I think it is also still important for us to be knowledgeable in how this processes works because that would also enable us to contribute. And I think climate reality project Philippines has been doing a great job in this. We just mobilized a project or an initiative called the Climate Vulnerable Forums Fellowship, Youth Fellowship, where we chose 40 young people from different countries, trained them with about climate policies and also the processes here in COP29. And then we selected 20 of them to be brought here and also be part of their parties, official delegation of their countries. So I think we need more projects like this, like initiatives that would capacitate young people in negotiation processes.
So that is 20 out in from Philippines. Tamela, as a high school student, do you think what Nika says would also work at high school level?
Hello everyone, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for coming. I'm Tamela Lajma. I'm a high school student in Azerbaijan, but I'm also an eco-activist and I try to participate in these spaces as much as possible because it's such a huge opportunity for me and we can contribute and it's so important. And I'm totally agree with the thing Mika said because it's really important to support the youth and show them that they have a voice and they have the power to change, but rather than like changing something, being the change they want to be. And it's something I learned in the process that if you want to do something, you also need to take action for that. For example, if you want to have more clean spaces in your city, don't expect your government or don't expect some organizations, just do it for you. Create a community, a little community, maybe people from your school, maybe people you know, your friends, and share awareness for it and do it for yourself so you can also inspire others to do that as well. And it's so I think it's really powerful tool to inspire people because it also happened to me. Most of the things I did when I started my climate activism journey was seeing others doing what they're doing in their communities and thinking, what can I do about that? How can I contribute to that? It started like this. And for Azerbaijanis, I think it's a new idea for our generation because when I talk people over 20, for example, people already in the university, they were like, in our times when I was in high school, we didn't focus on extracurricular activities. It's also something being globalization, I think, because most people want to study abroad these days. That's why when you try to apply and get a scholarship or get into a university or college, they also ask you to have extracurricular, which is totally different than Azerbaijani education system. Here you just pass an exam and that's all. So they're thinking, okay, if I'm gonna do extracurricular, which way should I choose and what should I do? And I also think that it makes them a better person because it's not about only the things you do, but how you do it, and it's also creates a self-improvement within yourself. You understand that why you want to do things, and it also creates your personality, and that's why we need to share it and share more awareness about it, and let more people to join our spaces and our action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I think we are appreciating the diverse, sharing from youth participation, the fact that they are not supported at 40%, to Nika's example of what they did in Philippines, bringing in 20 youth to participate in negotiations. And now when Tamela is sharing about at high school level, ensuring you're all rounded and starting early. So Lama from Nepal, were you here last week? So what is your take about the youth involvement in climate action?
Um, Thank you for letting me here. If I talk from the ground, basically, so before coming to COP, maybe I would like to highlight some youth engagement as well, so that I can come up with where the youth actions in the previous week. So in Nepal, like we also have a large number of delegations, like around 195 from the government itself, and then beside us, we have a lot of youth delegation from Observer as well, including youth. And then some of the youth delegation within the government were also trained for 2 days extensive training. Training was given to them as well, and then they were brought here with the support of government as well as other funders. Um, and then like they're actively engaging here and then doing their job like what they needs to be done done like following all the negotiation along with the uh, negotiators and then like pushing towards the agenda along with our negotiators that needs to be done toward the youth's uh, youth platform. And as of this previous week, I can see a lot of young peoples are here gathered, and then basically I have to appreciate that COP29 has made a little decision that to provide more badges to Global South in terms of previous COPs that I can see like there is an increasing number of badges in the Global South as well as the increasing participation of the youth youth as well. And then regarding the previous engagement, previous week of engagement in the COP, what I can see is I can see there are many young peoples in the platforms, like they are sharing like their stories, their works, their engagement, how they have been doing action, how they have been with innovative innovations to tackle this climate crisis on the ground community level activism. They're sharing everywhere. I can see that, and like I'm observing and going everywhere in the pavilion, and then taking pictures and then sharing the social medias. And then I really appreciate that one. And then another one is I have to appreciate that within the panel as well, young peoples are being engaged. But what I saw recently is that what we demand is we want the young people's door to be opened in the negotiations, and then um, for more engagement in the like this a very more like high and big uh, places, like maybe a person for positions for NGO, and then the INGO. But what I heard is but what I heard is like they were saying that they can't open the doors because you know I don't know why they said that, but they said that they can't open the door, maybe because of their own policies or what, I don't know. But I think this still lacks that we are being engaged in front of everyone, but at the same time, at the back door, we are being pushed back. So I think that also needs to be overviewed, and we need to bring that on the table. And then another one is like we see there is a multiple negotiation ongoing, but again we have this badge for the youth negotiators from the party, but they are still not allowed to enter there because they are overflow. And then one is that, and another one is that I have seen like few delegations that they are like I can give the example of Bhutan. Like they are preparing to I'm not sure the number 10 to 20 youth negotiators uh, uh, bringing here and then training them and so that they can negotiate in the next 10 years on behalf of the Bhutanese government. So that one is the great example, but at the same time, we can see a lot of backlashes that young people are being pushed back.
Those are really diverse perspectives, which is supporting actually the first speaker about the underrepresentation of youth. Emil, what can you add or what can you emphasize on the challenges of involving youth for climate action?
Thank you so much for having us here at the Digital Innovation Pavilion. My name is Emily McGlone, and I work as a director of an international NGO called Peace Boat US. And we have many youth leaders here with us at COP29. So really excited to see the more youth that we have here on the panel and youth participating in COP. And I agree, it's not quite the full percentage that we need. And so we have to give more access. So one of my goals has been to work to provide the Blue Zone badges to as many youth as possible to be on our delegations. This morning we had an event at the Ocean Pavilion. It was about youth empowerment for ocean conservation and climate action. We had a really inspiring panel. And one of our other goals is not only just to provide youth an opportunity to speak, but also to give youth from small island developing states or large ocean states a space where they can really share their stories from the front lines of climate change and ocean degradation, to be here and share their experiences as testimonies to what is happening and the impacts of climate change as they see sea level rise and so many other issues. And so with Peace Boat, we also have started a Youth for the SDGs Scholarship Program. We started this program actually in 2015 when the SDGs were launched, and we've continued to provide more young leaders scholarships to travel with us. We actually have a ship that travels around the world, visiting more than 20 countries every 3 months. And so as we're going around the world, we're really seeing the impacts of climate change firsthand. And those youth leaders are then bringing their stories. After traveling with us on the ship, we invite them to press conferences, to side events, to United Nations conferences, not only COP, but also the UN Ocean Conference, Climate Week. This year we were at the Summit of the Future at the UN. And just having youth participating and sharing their voices has been really inspiring for me. So I think at this year's COP, there's definitely been a little bit less access, I think, due to maybe, the distance, the travel, and, accommodation and cost. There's so many different aspects that have been limiting, I think, for youth leaders this time. Last year, we were at COP28 in Dubai, and also the space was different. The pavilions were huge, and the expo space was a lot bigger. So limiting space and limiting badges this year has also, I think, had an impact on decreasing youth participation. But I think overall, the youth that are here are bringing really creative solutions, innovative ideas, and more energy to participate. And there's a lot more focus also on the negotiations. So I think what you all are doing as bringing 20 youth is incredible from the Climate Reality Project. Just a moment ago, we saw here Mary Claire as well from the Climate Youth Negotiators Program. And that's been an incredible growth that I've seen over the past 3 to 4 years. They've had so many young leaders on party badges and actually at the negotiating table, which has been really great to see young leaders there supporting their delegations, doing the research, so much in finding answers and solutions that they can bring to the table. So I want to congratulate especially all those youth who are at the negotiating table. Very long nights, very early mornings, and a lot of dedication. One of our youth leaders, Antoni from Palau, actually was meant to be on our Ocean Pavilion, but she got pulled back into the negotiations. So also their schedules are impacted very much, with what they have to be doing at the negotiating table. And of course, that's priority. Side events are kind of a secondary space where they can share their voices. But as much as possible from Peace Boat, we're trying to provide those spaces. And I think this pavilion is also doing a great job in sharing spaces and creating opportunities for youth to share their voices. So I just hope that more youth continue to participate in COP and that we can all continue to provide that space, but also inspiration that, COP is really meant to be for everyone. So while we have a lot of experienced negotiators and experienced leaders in the field, youth really are the ones who are going to inherit this climate crisis in the future, and we have to find the solutions. I also like what you said about having diverse experiences as far as going into the workforce. We can't just be taking exams, right, and getting to the next level. You need to be participating and getting volunteer experiences, working with local communities, and especially indigenous communities as well. The indigenous wisdom and traditional experiences is really what we need to learn from while we're finding innovative solutions for technology and green innovation, blue tech. The blue economy is also a big topic, but we have to look at the experiences of traditional wisdom and how we can integrate that into every policy. And ocean conservation needs to be at the forefront for us. We're sailing on the open ocean, so that's important, but also for other communities as well. Climate and the ocean are very connected, and many people don't understand that the ocean is the lifeblood of our planet. So if we're not protecting the ocean, we're not going to find answers for, climate change. We need to really work together. So I just want to say thank you for having us, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the comments.
Before I move to Paloma, from what you've said, there is normally a slogan by the youth: no decision for the youth without us. they say that, but when you say that you have this program where you bring in the youth, they join the negotiators, but there's still that feeling that the decisions being made are not really involving them. What would you suggest should be done differently? Just if I talk about.
I think including youth on every delegation at the table is exactly right. Like you said, we need to make sure those delegations are asking the youth ahead of time to prepare. COP is a very challenging space to work in at this high pace. I mean, today is a very busy day at COP. There is a lot of movement going on. There's only, 5 or 6 days left to come to some agreements. The negotiations have been extremely slow this year. There needs to be more action. And I think a lot of the topics need to include youth solutions at the table as well. So I think, providing funding also, including funding for, any solutions that the youth are bringing to the table. Youth voices are not enough just to have them be, not necessarily tokenized, but having them on the panel is not enough, right? They also need to be funded to come here and participate, and the solutions need to be also funded by some of the funding that's going into COP. So, even looking at the pavilions, you know how much it costs to have pavilions here at COP. If we could take that money and put it into the solutions, that would be also something I would recommend for COP for the future. Even 10% of what's being spent on the actual production of COP should go into the solutions. So more funding, more youth empowerment, and more inclusion.
Paloma, you've been here from last week, right? Yeah. So what can you say has been the creative ways that the youth have been involved in climate action in this COP29?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I speak really loud. I'm a Latina. I think there is a lot that we can see, and it was so nice how this panel was formed, because I see so many different initiatives that I know and how they impacted and so on. But before talking to COP29 and talking about COP30 that is going to be in my home, I wanted to do a little bit background on the work that we've been doing. So we are here and we have a little bit of space. In 2019, I had a lot of background. We did the first Youth Climate Summit in United Nations headquarters. And in there, I remember more than 300 youth across the globe came up with a resolution that once came to United Nations. And that's why when we launched the first Youth Advisory Group to the Secretary General, which I was honored to be part of it, and it was an achievement because it was the first time that a young group had the opportunity to access someone as high as the Antonio Guterres in the United Nations. But then after that, one thing that we realized it was that one thing that is missing for a lot of young people is funds. And that's when we created the Youth Climate Justice Fund. That was an initiative led by young individuals, but also for youth to youth, because sometimes when you talk to philanthropy, to different groups, they give us the money, but they also want to lead us on the way that we do stuff. And creating the Youth Climate Justice Fund had supported us to be the ones that we are giving the money, we are sharing cross capacity because everyone has something to add to the table, but also support our initiatives on ground because change, even though we are here believing that change could come in this high level, they really came on ground, they really came from local communities, indigenous groups, and that's what I learned with my law background, working with indigenous quilombolas and so on. So one thing that we realized, and then also in 2019, we launched the Climate Councils Alliance, is that we want to be in spaces like this, but we also need to be in national governments, participating in bringing policies, participating in bringing our land lists more ambitious, and in these different levels, because otherwise we won't see the change. And after that, with the support from the Climate Reality Program, we were able to have more negotiators in Latin America. We are still missing a lot of countries there to participate, but we have some. And this is an achievement, and this has been because we have the support from different groups to participate in it. And when it comes to oceans, for example, even though Brazil has the biggest coast in South America, this is not the main agenda for Brazil. And we are not included in many of the UN ocean conferences because this has not been a priority to support a cross-continent country as the one that we have. After that, I think one thing that we fought a lot, and right now Brazil has this opportunity to make and to see how it's gonna be. It is because in COP27 we had the first youth climate champion in the presidency of COP, and since then we advanced a lot with different countries on this to become something that is institutionalized. For next year, we will have a UNFCCC team that is going to support us, and Brazil has the chance to show how it could be done. And even though it is like this, and Brazil says it's going to be the people's COP, they still came back and give it to the Youth Secretariat that is part of the presidency of Brazil, which is a party group that doesn't have a background on climate. So the climate movements of Brazil that has been working in climate spaces like the COPs for the past 11 years, we felt really sad to see something like this because if we have the experience, then we should work together. It is something to be done with presidency and young people. You cannot say that you are putting up that and not including us in the process. So one thing that we are launching and we are trying to move with Brazilian government is that for the PICC, the Presidency of Climate Champion, we have a triple presidency on oceans, on youth, and on indigenous people and traditional communities, so we can move this triple agenda that are very important and very connected. I just came also from the CBD COP in Cali, Colombia, also a momentum for Latin America. We are now holding the G20 in Brazil, and we are seeing that we don't have a lot of commitment for world leaders to move finance for young people. And one of the conclusions of a research that we did to launch the Youth Climate Justice Fund is that only 0.7% of the finance from philanthropies goes to young people. And out of this 0.7, even though we from different countries on the global south have been moving around policies, inclusion, institutionalization, participation in national governments, we still are less than 1% being financed. And out of the 0.7, it's important to remember that 25% out of it goes to young people that are based on the US. So what about the mobilization that we do in countries like in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia? How this gonna come? If people see the numbers, congratulate us, and it's like, okay, let's take a photo, you are included. It's not enough.
Thank you, Paloma. Olumide, I want to come back to you. And now we look at what can we do that is transformative. You know, the panelists, we've had all these ongoing projects, but thinking out of the box. What do you think we need to do that can change this inclusion so that we have a very active involvement of youth, which will make a change and have an impact.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start by saying, you were saying that, let me use it like this. Anything for us, without us, is not meant for us. And I'm just emphasizing, yes. You know, that there's a lot of, and I'll be speaking from Africa, there's a lot of innovative ideas. There's this clamoring of technology. But I can tell you that how many of us as young people have that tool on ground. But when you look at initiatives like regenerative agriculture, when you look at initiatives like sustainable practices in agriculture, and you see people turning waste to wealth, then you'll be able to see that through this process, you'll be able to have a lot of success stories. And these are the actions on ground that can turn innovation to power. Because a lot of young people have this zeal, the ability to volunteer. But you know, when you get to a time when their zeal to volunteer gets a moment whereby there's no value for them again, some of them have to just go and find a white collar job and move on. So what now happens to innovation that is on ground? And that's why I'm saying that cut across South, East, West in Africa, you see a lot of young people working on biodiversity issue, waste management, sustainable agriculture, and a lot of people doing upcycling. So these are the actions that we think we need more investment, because it's only investment opportunity that young people will be able to get in touch with, and it's going to cascade the opportunities that we need them to be here. A lot of young people that are here now, are we just for here to make our voice known, or we are here to tell our story? Telling our story, sharing our success story, sharing numbers of young people who are impacting in the local community, so that we can be able to drive more resources, more funding, and more opportunities. Because you cannot just come and sponsor me to come if you don't see the value of what I'm doing back home. So those value back home are the things that can make us to have voices on ground or voices in the COP. So it's very important. Like my brother said, saw a lot of people posting on WhatsApp and stuff. Those are a good idea, but for me, one of the best ideas I see in my life is when you are turning something to, I call it investment opportunity. When you turn waste to wealth, you turn trash to opportunity. You are involved in actions that actually make your government to look for you, to say, oh, you have somebody turning waste. Look at the bag I'm holding here. It's made of pure water sachets, made by a Nigerian lady. And it's making lots of money. It's made from pure water sachets. So these are the kind of innovation that we are looking at, because the moment you see somebody doing like this, you'll be able to invest. Not only investing into her, you are investing into her to also groom more young people. And she's a woman, a lady, right? So it's for me, I think those are the kind of initiatives, those are the kind of ideas, so that the word technology will not be taking us away from initiative. Because when you talk technology in Africa, technology needs resources, technology needs investment. But what can young people do that can make them to be more lucrative when they are working? Is something they can use doing their hands. And that's what farming is very key. Because I keep saying it, what we are going to eat, what you are going to wear, and where you sleep. Those are the three things that can make you to be who you are today. If all of us are not wearing clothes and we are working out, what's going to happen? If there's no food from morning till night, what's going to happen to us? So it's about what is happening on ground, and how do we make sure that those things that is happening on ground turn to investment and turn to opportunity for young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and quite thought-provoking. Tamela, you were speaking about mentorship. Like Olumide, you've given a suggestion on the day-to-day life, something which affects your eating, sleeping, and drinking, investments. But now, if we can think, how can we attract, and then sustain such investments? I want your perspective as somebody from high school, because it is believed that when a tree you cannot bend it when it is old, but when it is young, you can actually mold it very well. So at the high school level, can you think of any transformative way to ensure the youth keep on acting on climate issues?
So when about thinking, leading the yes and showing them a way to change and perform in those spaces that they can create a change, it's probably the first thing that comes to mind is the big organization like a government and education ministry. Why I'm mentioning education ministry because everything I think I did was because of the knowledge and awareness that I had for those problems. And I also think that education is so important on those issues because first you need to be aware of the issue. Second, you need to learn more and more about the problem. Third, you need to also have research about how to solve those problems. And if you don't have the enough resources or availability to the knowledge, you won't be able to participate, improve yourself, and think about the solution because you even don't know about the problem itself. How you can create a solution about the problem you don't know, and also it creates a huge difference when it comes to representing all the problems and people who are really in the middle of the problem. For example, if I'm coming here talking about a problem, I need to talk with someone who actually was living there in the area and witnessed it and can share their experiences. For example, when I'm thinking about Azerbaijan climate problems, the first thing comes to my mind is water issues. It was a huge problem in the history. Still nowadays people struggle with it in our daily life. We speak a lot. But when it comes to solution, how you're gonna, talk about how you're gonna solve the problem if you are not talking about it, if you are not the person who have the knowledge, or even if you don't have the knowledge, you need to talk with people who have it and learn about it even more. And it's also about the system in the countries. I think it's also because of the age. Because most people think that because we are young, because we are not experienced enough, we are not capable of doing things, which is just unbelievable. Um, exactly. But actually being those spaces, being able to talk and communicate with others gives you the necessary information and experience to think about it more deeply and also get the right mentality because like I can know everything from start of the journey while doing everything, attending this program, learning about this, reading this research. Every little step you take takes you to the point that you're able to create and be able to talk about it as well. So it's as I said, as I mentioned, education is so important about it. And when it comes to our education system, it's mostly the education ministry that controls and shares the information. So maybe talking about the problems in schools and giving children's rather than tests easy, with unnecessary information topic, just actually give children a teamwork, like group work, where they can think about it together and actually um, can discuss problems with their peers. And also, it's also about the how you represent life. Because if you are country supports the idea of going to the university rather than following your passion, you can't achieve those goals you take. If you're saying that we need to do something, but you don't support people for to do the exactly. For example, in our country, as I mentioned, university is important, but university is not the only thing that you can improve yourself. For example, I'm not planning to go to have a bachelor's degree on international relationships, but being in these events help me learn so much more that I can learn from textbooks. You know, but people don't appreciate it enough. So young people also doesn't have the enough motivation to do it because, for example, I have friends from university that they're saying like we're gonna participate in COP, we're gonna represent our university, we're gonna represent our ideas, but they're not able to get an allowance for their lessons, and they're receiving the answer no. If you're not gonna come to the lesson, we're gonna just about your degree or because of your classes. It's also not a problem for yes to choose between their education or because their activity.
Thank you so much. It wouldn't have been more real like than the way you're putting it, balancing, knowing what you can give and take. And, every journey starts with the first step. And it is good you have this experience, and I hope you'll act like a trainer of trainers and share with your other peers so that they can also see the value of learning by doing. And we have somebody from the Global Adaptation, Global Center on Adaptation. Maybe just introduce yourself and tell us how you are involving the youth.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot for the invitation, and thank you, Miro, for your leadership putting together this pavilion and organizing different events to bring together different organizations and young people. My name is Adriana Valenzuela. I work with the Global Center on Adaptation. I lead the youth leadership and education program. I'm very happy to see familiar faces here, and we partner with friends, colleagues, and partners that we have been working together in the last years. Then what do? Basically, the main objective of the Global Center on Adaptation is to accelerate the adaptation agenda. And why? Because we have seen that despite all the efforts, still there have been a very strong emphasis on mitigation that I think is crucial. We need to reduce emissions. But the point is also we need to get ready and to prepare to the impacts of climate change. And for that, the Global Center on Adaptation was established to create this platform to work in partnership with governments, with civil society organizations, university, development partners to accelerate adaptation solutions. What do? For the youth and education program, we have 4 areas of work. The first one is building the youth adaptation network, and we have a network with young people in 130 countries. Also, we organized this year the first Youth Climate Adaptation Action Day. The idea is not to have only conversations here at COP that are fundamental about adaptation and resilience, but that these discussions will also take place at the local and national level. Why? Because we need that everyone will be part of the solution, but if you don't know, if you are not aware, if you don't have information, if you don't have the knowledge, you cannot be part of the solution. This year we organized the Global Youth Adaptation Action Day in 73 countries with over 350 events taking place in parallel. And the idea is next year to have more countries. There's an invitation to all the partners to work with us. And I am happy that we identified some partners, and Olomide was also one of the key partners to organize the events in Africa, in African countries. In Africa, we have 45 countries. Then I think it was an extraordinary collaboration, and also we partnered with other network organizations with presence in Africa. An invitation to all of you to organize next year the Youth Climate Adaptation Action Day in your country, in your community, school. Also, we have the Youth Climate, the Youth Advisory Panel. Basically, it's a platform that brings together young people from different countries to provide advice how we can engage them in the adaptation agenda. I'm very glad also that Nika is part of the panel 2024. And last week we have a ceremony to celebrate youth adaptation leadership, and she, with other members of the panel, will receive an award for her leadership. And the call for application is open. Then if any of you would like to be part of the Youth Advisory Panel 2025, the call is open until next week. Then it's a busy period of time. No, it's not until next week, it's until this Friday. Then you will go to the social media of the Global Center on Adaptation, you visit our website, and make sure that you apply. Then also we have another area of work that is how you can participate in the decision-making processes. One is at international level, for instance, like Nika and many others, but also the national level. We did a review about the national adaptation plans, and next year we will launch a guide about how you can participate in the national adaptation plans. We identify good practices from different countries, for instance, Kenya, who have identified and created a network with the youth organizations and organized consultations, or Bangladesh or Costa Rica. There are some countries that have integrated youth as part of this policy instrument. There will be a year of consultations, and the guide will be launched at COP30 in Berlin. Then the third part is adaptation education. And we launched, it's called the Youth Adaptation Academy. The Youth Adaptation Academy mainly aims to develop knowledge and skills of young people. It's a partnership between the University of Nairobi in Kenya and the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. And the idea is a train of trainers model that was launched this year in September. The idea is that in 2025, will be also replicated in other African countries. And there is a massive online course hosted by the University of Nairobi, free of cost, to anyone that wants to learn about adaptation and leadership. And finally, also one of the key priorities is young women leadership. And why? We have seen, I am glad to have this panel, because there is still a big gap. We saw the family photo of COP30, of COP29, that there are only few women in leadership positions. And I think it's not a competition, but it's also bringing the perspective of women in this agenda. And I think that we need to complement, and for that we design also an executive training for young women, partnering with the Ban Ki-moon Center, and we already train young women of 11 countries, and we hope to continue with this. A final reflection is we are here at COP29, that is the COP of finance. And if it is the COP of finance, we make a call for doubling adaptation finance, that it was a commitment from Glasgow, but also making this funding available for the most vulnerable, including local communities and young people. We cannot accelerate this transformation without investing in education, without investing in young people. And delighted to be here, very pleased to see the partners, and looking forward to continue working with all of you.
Thank you. Actually, it's like you are here, although you've come after they've said most of the things you said as what we need. But it's nice to know that we are speaking the same language. So because of time, you'll just make your closing remarks, and then we can get a question or two from the audience.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to reiterate what Adriana said. Adriana was also a guest speaker on the Peace Boat, and she joined our Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador program as a kind of mentor for the youth as well. So really it's important to think about adaptation and youth empowerment and capacity building. So that's super important. And as Peace Boat, we also have joined in that Global Youth Adaptation Day. So we encourage everyone to participate and be part of that action and continue the momentum towards COP30 in Brazil, which we hope to bring more youth leaders and to continue the momentum there as well. And let's double down on finance and supporting young leaders. And let's hope that this year will bring more support, more capacity building, and more educational opportunities for young leaders to come and prepare for COP as we build up and create these spaces for young people. So thank you so much for having us today.
Okay. That was a lot to take in. But we all know that in the climate policy arena, there are only like certain countries that are dominating the negotiations, and I think now for us, I think it's also important for us to explore other channels to contribute in this crisis and solving this crisis. And I just want to mention that Climate Reality is also doing this campaign called the Rewrite COP, where we are widening the conversation and policy through arts and also stories. And with the use of digital innovation, I think we could also utilize social media and sharing our stories, and sharing our arts, and just expressing ourselves, because now climate negotiation, it's already complicated, and we all know that only a few of us have access to that. So I just want to share that there is also this campaign, and as also we all know that the COP29 is the finance COP, but I think it's not just about the quantum, or it's not just a question of money, but I think it is also important to for us to address this systemic barriers, and because yes, there will be money, but how are we have to ensure that this fund also be accessible to those people who actually need it, because I've actually met an organization in my city, and it's actually sad to know that they don't even know how to write a proposal or concept note, and they were asking for my help to do all this proposal, because they're a cooperative, and they are managing the mangrove eco park, in the first mangrove eco park in the city after that super typhoon Haiyan. And now it is it needs to be rehabilitated, and they need funding for that, but then again it's the funding is not acceptable for them, because they don't have the capacity to even access, and also the requirements, it's very hard for them to obtain all these papers and everything, so I think we really need to simplify also the language, and also the requirements and everything, and ensure that these funds are accessible to the most vulnerable.
Thank you so much for sharing a lot of innovations and what you have been doing within your organizations, and appreciating that in back in recently in August, September, we had a huge loss in Nepal. I hope you have heard about this glacier lake outburst in Nepal, in the Thame village, which lost around 2.5% budget of the fiscal year, our coming fiscal year, and then that is huge loss for us. At the same time, when COP is happening, Nepal is facing a lot of pollution issues. Uh, as the winter starts, there is a lot of smog, pollution is coming from cross-border issues. As we know that climate change knows no border. So, and then we are asking for a lot of money for the adaptation, mitigation, also damage to cover our what has been damaged, or how we need to adapt. But at the same time, we are asking money, we are asking funds to adapt what's going to happen in the future. But at the same time, we demand to cut up all the fossil fuels, and then all the fossil fuels that is being used, and that is causing a lot of climate catastrophes all around the globe. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel. It was so important to hear all of these voices, and so many women that are so inspiring, so many young people. Taking back on what you said, I think once I heard that the biggest minds of the world, they lost years of their lives writing proposals and concept notes. But while we are sacrificing ourselves for the movement, so people have time to study while they volunteer, while they have to work, because we have to pay our bills even though we are young. And instead of waiting that, for example, the COP30 Brazilian presidency put a woman in the front, as they say, we believe that COP30 is going to be the youth-led, woman-led, indigenous people-led, quilombola-led COP. As we cannot wait for this to be a reality, we are already doing. So to all of you here present in the panel and here, please, if you see young people, try to support each of them. We are already doing a lot for COP30. We want to do the biggest mobilization, and we are not waiting for our government to support on that. That's why we are building caravans from across the world, from Latin America, from different parts of Africa, of Asia, that everyone can come, that we can gather, and that we unite our voices. Because if COP is the only time of the year that we are able to gather this wide community, we have to have some time previously in person so we can prepare, so we can get educated on what are the thematics from negotiations, and we can really do a change in the spaces that we are right now. Otherwise, it will be the same conversation for the past more than 30 years. And as UNFCCC was born in my country, I hope also that we do a rechange, a recharge, and an innovation for all of this back there. And welcome to Brazil. See you at COP30.
No wonder there's activists after your name. But that is a good one. Any reaction, any question from the audience? We have a minute.
Thanks again, Caroline, for your wonderful chairing. Thanks everyone on the panel. It was very inspiring. And we have some soft drinks and a little bit of micro snacks, and you are welcome to stay with us. And Adriana has invited also her Youth Adaptation Network youth, if you want to say something to them also.
I think that this reflection was excellent, what you said. 30 years ago, the convention was born in Brazil. And I think that the beauty of the process is to be able to meet with different partners from different countries around the world, with different realities, but a common goal. And I am sure that are just people like all of you and all of us who believe about what we are doing that can promote a transformation. And really, thank you very much for creating this space on the platform, because we need platforms to connect, to meet, to exchange. And I'm really looking forward to continue creating solutions together. And congratulations to all of you.